you compare to the population of the Earth now, or of the United States, so, I'm a quarter native, probably Sioux, and there's really not that many of us. If you compare to the population of the United States now compared to what it was 200 years ago. But they're here. They're all here. Big banks, just after the Civil War, I think, is when they took over here, when they really consolidated power. They consolidated it through the railroads and the coal industry and steel, and they got monopolies, and they made a huge amount of money, and that money that they made is what financed these movements. They used that money for that. That's where the money went. People wonder, well, what did they do with all that money? Well, that's what they did with some of it, at least. And there's probably movements that they financed that I don't even know about, because the world is big. But they financed those. It sounds like they financed both sides of some things. And these families came from Europe, it sounds like. So it goes further back in Europe. So it has its roots in Europe. Or at least our branch of it, of the elite, goes back to Europe. I mean, they may be in every country of the world. Maybe they were in every country of the world. I mean, I don't know if that'll ever be figured out. Chequamegon National Forest. But it's part of our history. Cryon did say that, yeah, that stuff's true. He says you don't need to push it. Don't try to convince people of it. If they don't, if they don't think it's true, don't try to argue it or anything like that, because they're just gonna resist you. But I was always fascinated with that kind of thing, and I found out about it in something like 1982 or 83 or something like that. There was some books in our library at Shawnee School, and that's where I discovered it. There was a book called None Dare Call It Treason and None Dare Call It Conspiracy. And I looked up the bibliography, and I actually got the books. I thought, well, this is pretty fantastic stuff. Could be false even. And so I looked up the books, got some of the books, and looked up to see if it really goes anywhere, and it does. And I actually wrote some papers on it, both in college and high school. And I got like B's on them. I mean, they didn't like say that this stuff is bullshit or anything like that. It was definitely fringe, but they says, no, you got good. Everything's backed up, because you had to have everything backed up, you stated. You had to write a bibliography at the end of your essay. And I also gave some talks on it too. And people probably thought I was nuts. And now it's kind of going mainstream among Republicans. It's kind of like, yeah, we know about that. They don't seem to know about the Zionist aspect, though. At least not the president. I mean, I was kind of fascinated by the Russian Revolution, because the Cold War was going on, and I was curious about it. Why would a country do this? And Grandma had some money from Russia, and I still have it. She gave me some. She had a Bolshevik note that was red, and she had an old Russian note. It was a big one. It was probably worth it was worth a lot back when it was printed. Now it's only worth probably worth less than $20 now, which shows what paper money is worth. Back when it was made, it was a gold certificate. And then she had an Austro-Hungarian note. Beautiful paper money. And I guess none of it's really worth that much money. I mean, it's worth something, but she had a dress made out of it too, out of these paper bills, these currency notes. But she gave me like one of each note. They're not redeemable for money anymore because the governments that existed back then are all gone. The old Russian government, that was under the Tsars, that's gone. All those countries are under new governments now, so they don't even honor those notes anymore. And I do have a few coins. I got those on my own. Kind of a fascinating part of history, though. But Grandma came from Italy, and Grandpa came from Hungary. And so maybe he had the Austro-Hungarian note. Maybe he brought that. They came over in the 20s or something. I'm not sure what year they came. Early 1900s. They came over on a boat. Ranger Station. Low burn risk. That's, I guess, good. Guess that's good. Means it's not too dry. And this town is Glidden. We're at 767.2. I might be able to get through till I get home. I had a big enough breakfast. I don't have to stop again. Maybe. Go right home and have something at home.